think of ourselves as Americans, just the same as any other American, equal and right, and what we consider ourselves to be.
Fine, how are you doing?
However, those are here. Ladies and gentlemen, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
World. When he came to the deserted Capitol on a Sunday, he sometimes had to wait a minute or two for an elevator, since only one elevator operator was on duty. Now the waiting time was eliminated. 3 operators were on duty all Sunday. And the operators of the subway between the Capitol and the Senate office building no longer stopped working at 6 o'clock. They remained on duty until Johnson had left the Capitol. The pattern was discernible not only in the office, but in the way visitors to it were treated. Not the committee chairman, of course, but almost all his other colleagues. Often they were kept waiting. Sometimes there would be 3 or 4 senators of the United States cooling their heels in the majority leader's antechamber. Even the placid Mansfield once lost his temper over the length of time he was kept waiting for an audience and left, saying to Ashton Cannella, "Well, I'm not going to wait this long for anybody." Mansfield's attitude displeased Miss Cannella. In recounting this incident, she told the author, "I did not like people who did not respect Mr. Johnson." While the time senators spent in the suite's outer office was sometimes uncomfortably long, the time they spent in the inner office was sometimes uncomfortably short. A request might be made of the leader, and it might be denied quickly and curtly, after which it was clear the applicant was expected to get up and leave. Lyndon Johnson's attitude toward his colleagues was increasingly proprietary and paternalistic. They were his children. It was his Senate, Miss Cannella explains. Some of them were wayward children. That was all right. That was why he was there, the firm fair father, to see that they didn't get into trouble. In November 1958, he would tell John Steele, in an off-the-record interview, "You know, I feel sort of like a father to these boys. A father loves his sons, though one son may drink a little too much, another may neck with the girls a little too much. A good father uses a gentle but firm rein, checks his sons, guides them, and above all understands them." He knew what each of them needed. In 1958, he selected his new favorite, Frank Church, for the honor of reading George Washington's farewell address in the Senate on Washington's birthday.
Let's go back here.
Telling a reporter,
Let's go back here and just see where we're at here. Are we all here now?
Mr. Johnson, please, our time.
Your time is my time.
If you please, Mr. Johnson, our time is short.
Disc 44. Sometimes, for a new visitor, he would sweep aside the heavy drapery behind his desk there, and suddenly the window would be filled, as one reporter wrote, with the marbled city below with its great avenues running toward the White House. Grand as this suite was, it was still too far from the chamber floor for his liking. But on the same level as the chamber floor, and conveniently near it, was a suite of 2 huge rooms fitted in the staff and meeting rooms of the Senate's District of Columbia Committee. He commandeered that, too.
Come in
On
here
its high
now.
ceilings, above its big crystal chandelier, were frescoes.
I'm about to
As soon as
talk.
he chose the office, painters began touching them up.
Come in
Of
here
boys
now.
carrying baskets of flowers and young men maidens reclining on couches.
Recline,
A
girl.
Roman emperor's banquet.
This is my...
Reporters began referring to it as the Emperor's Room, before coining another name which stuck, the Taj Mahal. Lady Bird imported an interior decorator from New York to redo the sweeping green and gold.
Right here in the
On entering the office, Sam Schaffer wrote, one was immediately confronted by an extremely well-lit, fully life-size portrait of its occupant, hung above its marble fireplace. The artist had portrayed Johnson leaning against a bookcase, but he had captured at least some of the piercing quality in Johnson's eyes. That huge picture of Lyndon looking squarely in the visitor's eye first thing on entering Lyndon's office is a sure irritant, John Steele reported in a memo to his editors at Time. And it was not only Lyndon Johnson's portrait that was well lit. High above the desk, sealed in a chandelier, two spotlights had been placed, focused so that as the man himself sat at the desk, they cast on him what one reporter called an impressive nimbus of golden light. In a corner of the immense room, he had ordered high walls of polished mahogany built, and behind them was a bathroom, a Johnsonian bathroom, a monument of a toilet, James Reston called it, used as Johnson used bathrooms. Soon, secretaries, assistants, and senators were having to take dictation from him or discuss issues with him as he sat before them on the toilet. Johnson made other changes, too, in the...
Enough of that. Now, I am the president. Fellow Americans, it is a great pleasure to be here today. This university has been coeducational since 1870. Welcome to Ann Arbor. But I do not believe it was on the basis of your accomplishments that a Detroit high school girl said, in choosing a college, you first have to decide whether you want a co-educational school or an educational school. Let me tell you this. She wanted the co-eds. Well, we can find both here at Michigan, Ann Arbor. Welcome. Although perhaps at different hours, which hour this is, and an occasional Jack Daniels and a Southern Comfort. Well, we find both we're at Michigan, although perhaps at different hours. I said that already. I came out here today. They're anxious to meet the Michigan student whose father told a friend of mine that his son's education had been a real value. It stopped his mother from bragging about him. I have come today from the turmoil of your capital to the tranquility of your campus to speak about a future of your country. North Vietnam has just invaded South Vietnam, from what I understand. I have come today for, I have said that already, the purpose of protecting the life of our nation and preserving the liberty of our citizens is to pursue the happiness of our people. Our success in that pursuit is the test of our success as a nation. For a century we have labored to settle and subdue a continent. For half a century we have called upon unbounded invention and tiring industry to create an order of plenty for all of our people. A what? I can't hear you. A domino effect. Well, one second here. For a century we labored to, I read that already. The challenge of the next half century is whether we have the wisdom to use wealth to enrich and elevate our national life and to enhance the quality of our American civilization as we know it. Your immigration, your intuitiveness, your indignation will determine whether we build a society where progress is a servant of our needs, of a society where old values and new visions are buried under unbridled growth. For in your time we have the opportunity to move not only toward a rich society and a powerful society, but upward to a great society. The great society rests on abundance and liberty for all. It demands an end to poverty and racial injustice, to which we are totally committed in out time.
Our time.
No, out. Equal rights with the white man for the Negroes, the American Negroes. But that is just the beginning. The Great Society is a place where every child can find knowledge to enrich his mind and enlarge his talents. It is a place where leisure is a welcome chance to build and reflect, not a feared cause of boredom and restlessness. It is a place where the city of man reserves not only the needs of the body and determines the commerce, but the desire of beauty and hunger for community. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you. It is a place where man can renew contact with nature, whatever that means. It is a place which honors creation for its own sake and for what it adds to the understanding of a race. Start, finish. It is a place where men are more concerned with the quality of their goals than the quality of their goods.
Yeah, really.
Bravo.
Bravo.
But most of all, the Great Society is not a safe harbor, a resting place, a final objective, a finished work. It is a challenge consistently renewed, beckoning us toward a destiny where the meaning of our lives matches the marvelous products of our labor. Secretary, I do not acclaim such nonsense. So I want to talk to you about 3 places where I begin to build the Great Society in our cities, in our countryside, and in our classrooms, and even here, which is a 4th place, different from other places. Many of you will live to see the day, perhaps 50 years from now, when there will be 400 million Americans, 4/5 of them urban areas. It is a reminder of this century. Urban population will double, city land will double, and we will have to build homes, highways, and facilities equal to all the built since this country was first settled. So in the next 40 years, we must rebuild the entire United States. Yeah. Aristotle said men come together in cities in order to live, but they remain together in order to live the good life. Good country song. It is harder and harder to live the good life in American cities today. The catalog of ills is long. There is a decay of centers and despoiling of suburbs. There is not enough housing for our people or transportation of our traffic. Open land is vanishing, and old landmarks are violated.
What you call you people?
Huh? What?
What you call you people?
Violations. Worst of all, expansion is eroding the precious and time-honored values of community with neighbors and communion with nature. God help us. The loss of these values breeds loneliness and boredom and indifference. Our society will never be great until our cities are great. Today, the frontier of imagination and invocation is inside the cities and not beyond the borders near Disney. New experiments are already going on. It will be a task of our generation to make the American city a place where future generations will come. Yes. Not only to live, but to live the good life. Quiet. I understand that if I stayed here tonight, I would see that Lake Michigan students are really doing their best to live a good life. This is the place where the Peace Corps was started. It is inspiring to see how all of you, while you are in this country, are trying so hard to live the level of the people. Not that you're going to leave, but if you're foreigners. A second place where we begin to build this great society is the countryside. We have always prided ourselves in being not only American the strong and American the free, but American the beautiful, American the brave, American the drunk. But the beauty is in danger. The water we drink is alcohol. We eat, food we eat, the very air we breathe are threatened with pollution. Our parks are overcrowded.
Mr. President.
Our seahorses are overburdened.
Mr. President.
There ain't that many big seahorses. Green fields and dense forests are disappearing.
Mr. President.
What? What? A few years ago, we were greatly concerned about the ugly American, Marlon Brando. Today, we must act to prevent the ugly American from existence, as he is dead now. For once the battle is lost, once our natural splendor is destroyed, it can never be recaptured. And once man can no longer walk with the beauty or wonder at nature, his spirit will wither, in substance be wasted. A third place to build the great society is the classrooms of America. There your children life will be shaped. Our society will be great until your young minds set free to scan the farthest reaches of thought and imagination. We are still far from that goal. Today, 8 million adult Americans check pornography out. More than the entire population of Michigan have not finished 5 years of school. Nearly 20 million have not finished 8 years of school. Nearly 54 million, more than 1/4 of America, is dumb. Have not finished high school. Each year, more than 100,000 high school graduates graduate. With proved ability, do not enter college because they cannot afford it. And if we cannot educate today's youth, what will we do in 1970 when elementary school enrollment will be 5 million, greater than 1960, and high school enrollment will rise 5 million. College enrollment will increase by more than 3 million. In many places, classrooms are overcrowded and the curricula are outdated. Most of our qualified teachers are underpaid, and many of our paid teachers are underqualified. So we must give every child a place to sit and a teacher to learn from. Poverty must not be a bar to learning, and learning must offer an escape from poverty. Shut up. But more classrooms and more teachers are enough. We must seek an educational system which grows in excellence as it grows in size, like when me and Lady Bird make love at night. This means better training for our teachers. Thank you, Lady Bird. So we must give every child a place to sit, as I'm sitting here. Poverty must not be a bar. I read that already. This means that better training for our teachers. I read that. But these are three of central issues of the Great Society. While our government has many programs directed at those issues, I do not pretend that we have a full answer to these problems. And I will not, under any pretense or pretending. But I do promise this, and I will promise it. We are given to assemble the best thought and the broadcast knowledge from all over the world to find those answers of America. And I intend to establish working groups to prepare a series of White House conferences and meetings on all cities of natural beauty, including Marilyn Monroe, on the equality of education and other emerging, and Jane Mansfield, and other emerging challenges, and from meetings from these inspiration from the studies we will begin to set forth towards our great society.
Great.
The solution of these problems do not rest in a massive program in Washington, nor can it rely on the strained resources of local authority. They require us to create new concepts of cooperation, a creative federalism. Watch that word. That's back to the Confederacy of the Great. And between the nation capital and the leaders of the local communities. Now, Woodrow Wilson once wrote, every man sent out from his university should be a man of his nation as well as a man of his time. Who are you?
Exactly.
Within your lifetime, powerful forces already loosed will take us toward a way of life beyond the realm of our experience, almost beyond the bounds of our imagination. And Timothy Leary. For better or for worse, your generation has been appointed by history to deal with those problems and to lead America towards a new age. United States has not fallen back in education, and Japan and Chinese have surpassed. For better or worse, which I have said again, you have the chance, never before, afforded to any people in any age. You can help build a society where the demand of morality, the needs of the spirit, can be realized in the life of the nation. Don't talk while I'm talking.
Lyndon Johnson, we were
I will throw you
studying-
out.
Mr. Johnson, now please.
Get the Secret Service in here.
How do you
So,
like that?
will you join the battle and give every citizen full quality which God enjoins and the laws require, whatever this belief, a race, or a color of his skin? And we're all white here. Will you join in the battle of every citizen and escape for the crushing weight of poverty? Will you join in the battle to make it for all nations? I will make it. And live in enduring peace as neighbors, not or as mortal enemies. Will you join in the battle of the great society to prove our material progress is only the foundation of which we build a richer life of mind and spirit? There are those souls who say this battle cannot be won. They say that we are condemned to a soulless wealth. I do not agree. We have the power to shape the civilization, and we want, but we need your will, your labor, your hearts, and we are to build the kind of society that we need. Those who came in this land sought to build more than just a new country. They sought to build a new world. So I have come here to your campus of Ann Arbor and to say that to you, you can make their vision a reality. So let us from this moment begin our work so that in the future men will look back and say, it was then, after a long and weary way, that man turned the exploits of his genius to a full enrichment of his life. And he flushed his toilet. It's now over. Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? There are no questions.
How do you plan to deal with the communist threat?
The communist threat?
How do you plan to deal with the anti-communist threat?
I don't think that we should be dealing with anything. Whether it be communist or anti-communist. I just would like to sit here and enjoy my existence.
How do you plan to deal with your existence?
Yeah, why do
sitting-
needs have to be social?
By being a great society. We are all here for a great society. Meet me afterwards. And I'll
Can it
tell
be
you.
a secret society though?
It could be with me and you. Let me read some of this, The Great Society. In the spring of 1964, only 4 months after I had become president, I, Lyndon Johnson, had spoken to the campus of University of Michigan, and there
You did that.
I sketched the outlines from the program intended to go beyond the Kennedy legacy. One that would be, in my creation, a gift and a monument of my leadership.
Yeah, he had 2 legs.
3 legs, if you consider the one for nighttime. In that address, I spoke to a great society, a phrase used a few times, but in Ann Arbor, for the first time, given a substantial content, and thus, by inference, I attended at history's label for this administration. I said, great society. great society. Oh well. And now checking along here. I had worked to reach the position where I could not only propose and pass the Great Society legislation, but in the summer of 1965, after a lifetime spent in pursuit of public power, I had come so close that I could see almost a touch of my youthful dream of improving life for more people in more ways than any other politician leader, including FDR. I was determined to keep the war from shattering that dream, which meant I simply had no choice but to keep